Hello everybody and welcome back to Operation Logistics, where we are implementing our pathfinding algorithm here. And one thing that we should probably consider doing is going into our building here and coding in a quick thing here. So let's see here. The G is essentially the distance that we've traveled along the path so far. The H is our heuristic distance, and then the F is G plus H. Now, one thing we could do is we could add in essentially something like this. This is also going to be hidden in Inspector. And we're going to have a private float underscore G, and then a public float G, which is going to then have a get and a set. And essentially, all we're going to do is we're going to set G equals value for the set. That's all we're going to do. For the get, I want to check to see what type of building we are, right? And when we do that, we're going to need to check, and let's go ahead and go to our implementation of the building type here. So go to definition, and you can see here we've got all of these road types. But they all start with road. So I think what we can do then is we can say something along the lines of return G, or rather return underscore G. However, up here we can do if, and we want to do type. Actually, let's do system.enum.getName type of type, and then the value being our building type. And in fact, we need this to be building type. There we go. And then we want to check the first four? Yeah. Well, we'd need to check at least the first two. But I think checking the first four would be safer. So this will return a string. And I want to get a substring. Start index of 0. And then a length. So 0 would then count as 1 in the length, I would assume. So 0, 1, 2, and 3 for a length of 4. And we want to check that that equals road. If that equals, or rather we want to check that it's not equal to road. If it is, then we want to return G times like 3. We want it to very, very much favor traveling by road whenever it can. So we want to make it much more expensive if it's a road. And we'll multiply it by 3f, just to make sure it's a floating point. Okay, we can adjust that later on, but that will give us a starting point there for tile costs, essentially. So when we are in here, we then need to do our openList.count. So first thing we need to do is we need to sort our open list. So we're going to go ahead and do openList.sort, and we're going to sort by compare F. Compare F. Okay, and as I said in the last episode, what that does is it just checks the F value to see where it should go in the list. Raises it if the F is lower, or rather if the F is greater. It reduces it if the F is lesser. Okay. And we want the F to be greater because we want the We want the f to be lesser, don't we? I think we want the f to be lesser. But yeah, we want to sync it through the list and raise it through the list if it's lesser. Yeah, that's correct. Negative raises it 1 and positive syncs it. Okay. So we have our list sorted now. And now we need to get our current building. So we will get building current equals open list 0. We want the best possible one in the list. So we will go ahead and grab that. We will remove that from the open list. So we'll remove current. We will also remove it from the open list hash. Like so. And then we will add it to the closed list since we are considering it right now. Closed list dot add current and also closed list hash dot add current. Excellent. If current equals 2, if this is our destination, then we need to go ahead and reconstruct the path. Now we do need one more thing in our building function here. I'm going to go ahead and do another hide in inspector. And this is going to be public building pathfinding parent. And I'm gonna not capitalize that. Okay, there we go. In our pathfinding, we now have our pathfinding parent. So if our current building that we're considering is our goal building, then we need to reconstruct our path and we need to return it. So bool in parents equals true. That's just something we're going to use to break out of a while loop. List building, in fact this should be list vector 3 path equals new list vector 3. But we're going to go ahead and toss in, to start with, current. Like that. But we do need to get the vector 3 position. So let's go ahead and make ourselves a quick shortcut here. And that would be, let's see, we have a time manager. Or rather, we have a time manager here. We have a business. I think we can get there from here. So we will do a public vector 3 position. And this is just going to be a quick shortcut for us. We will do a get only, there is no set. And we will simply return manager dot, we need to get the hex manager, which I think the business has. Yep, hex manager dot get building hex position location. Okay. So that'll just be a nice little shortcut for us. And then in the pathfinding, we can then just do current dot position. Excellent. Next, we're going to need a while loop here to reconstruct our list. So while in parents, if current dot pathfinding parent is not equal to null, so if there is a pathfinding parent, path dot add, and this will be the current dot pathfinding parent. So if there is a parent, we will add that to the path. And why is this giving me an error? Because we need dot position. That's why. There we go. Else, in parents equals false, because there's no other parent to go to. And then current equals current dot pathfinding parent, like so. So that will construct us our list when we get to our location. And that's something we have to do now before we can really move on. So let's just make sure that we then, after we do that, go through and reset everything. So for each building in the closed list, we're going to go ahead and say building.pathfindingParent equals null, because we need to clean this back up so that we don't think that it's so we don't have paths left over. And then we need to do for each the same exact thing, building in open list this time, building dot pathfinding parent equals null. Now, our path is actually backwards, so we need to do path dot reverse. And then the question is, do we want to remove the very first position? Which, when we reverse this, the very first position will be our origination point, essentially. I think we don't for right now, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in here, comment it out. Path.remove at 0, because we very frequently do want to remove that. And it may end up being that we want to do that this time. But then we can just simply return path. Okay. So there's that little side adventure done. So that's what it does if we get to the destination. Now we need to actually start getting there. So we're going to go ahead and do a for each loop. So for each building in current dot neighbors. Now, of course, we don't actually have access to current dot neighbors right now. We're going to need to code ourselves a quick shortcut here. So, public vector3 neighbors. Actually, this is a list of what? Buildings? I think this is a list of buildings. We can check in the hex store. A list of int3s. Okay. int3 neighbors. Okay. And now we're going to need to get our neighbor. So in order to do that, we're going to want to... Do we need a function for this? I think we do. So we'll do a public list of int3 get building neighbors, and we'll pass in int3 hex. Okay, and then we're going to need to grab the what, biome hex, or the hex store by index, and then pass in the world hex and biome hex. So we're going to need to do hex store biome equals get hex store by index, and then we're going to pass in hex.worldhex and hex.biomehex. And then we're going to want to return biome.neighbors x.buildinghex. And that should get us that. So then we're going to need a get here, and then return manager.business.hexmanager.getBuildingNeighbors location. And that gets us a nice little shortcut to getting its neighbors. Okay, so for each building in current.neighbors, we can then make sure that if the building is walkable, all buildings are walkable in this, mostly. Now this doesn't take into account whether the world hex is walkable or not, but all world hexes are essentially walkable too. I think what we should go ahead and do... Yeah, I think we would exclude water hexes from this, and water hexes would just be different. There would be no real pathfinding. Well, there would be pathfinding required, but it would be on like the world hex level. So we're gonna just create a dummy function here for right now. Public static list vector3 pathfind on water. Return no. And then we'll just call this to do. There. And then this would be pathfind on land. So I don't think we need to consider whether the province is walkable or not. the building is walkable or not. So we want to make sure that the closed list hash does not contain our building that we are considering here. So essentially, when we're doing this, we want to make sure that the closed list hash is not already considering, or we've not already considered this building. Not convert type int3 to building. Oh. That is true, isn't it? Let's see, how do I want to do this? The neighbors... Well, we could convert this over. Because this is a list of int3s, isn't it? We could do something like this. List of building neighbors, and then convert to a list of buildings. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put a cut in here, and next episode we will continue this. See you all then.